back to the show.
Alright.
We are Popcorn and Beers because some use tomatoes and others use thumbs. We choose to use the stuff that gets you drunk.
Welcome to the show.
That was a good sound, boo boo.
Oh, brought to you by Elysian Space Dust IPA.
I got that Corona Tropical Guava Lime made with real juice again.
Guava.
Is guava the love fruit or is that mango? One of the fruits is like the aphrodisiac, and I can't remember which one it is.
Mango is just a vitamin B shot, so
Okay.
maybe that one. But
Might be
guava's
that one.
delicious.
Right off the bat is our butter on top. Josh moonwalked his ass out of the theater. Josh, tell the people why you moonwalked your ass out of the theater, but don't give any spoilers.
Okay, well, everyone died. First 5 minutes, so I was bored. Just kidding. Truth be told, I mean, movies like this, and most movies, it's probably just a healthy practice to assume it's going to suck. As long as you know it's going to suck, you can only be impressed. Not true here. I followed that procedure, and I was still like, no. I think I left the theater at the 25-minute mark, give or take.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I got the introductions to everyone. Megan Fox overacted. Wait a second. Everyone overacted. Bad dialogue. Oh, except 50. 50 underacted. He was just like being like the cool guy. Hey, what's up with you? Roger that. You know, was that my 50 Cent accent? Anyway.
No, but if it was, you might want to take it back while you still have time.
This is kind of the way he talks, actually. He talks like, hey, what's going on with him? Just real relaxed and mellow.
Like he's not using the top of his mouth to talk.
He's trying not to move his mouth at all, to be honest. He's almost trying to be a ventriloquist with it. What is that accent? Anyway.
I don't know what you heard about.
It was what you expected. It's explosions. It's bad dialogue. It's a lot of, hey, I'm stronger than you. Oh, not really. Watch me fight this guy. Huh, you don't want to mess with this guy. Hey, maybe I do. And like, I am the one who is the strong lover. And he, what?
That's the son of Antonio Banderas' character, though.
Okay. It was just too much. And I think it's exactly what an Expendables diehard fan needed and wanted. So no hate, really, but it is a popcorn, and I'm not happy.
I'm not happy. And he's not tired, everyone. Piggybacking. Oh, I hate that. Nasty. Don't ever say that again.
I'm just going to piggyback off what the commander just said.
All right. In regards to dialogue, I said, look, the dialogue. It's not why we're here. It's all about the action and the explosions.
That's true. It's just muscle.
It was so bad. I'm not going to fight you on it. I was like, hey,
but it's the kindness you like.
Hey, witty quip. Hey, witty response. Hey, I used to have sex with her. Hey, I'm stronger than you. Hey, we should fist fight. Hey, there's a big guy.
You see this ring? You see this tattoo? I'm tough.
So it was fun. I mean, Eddie Hall makes a cameo. Do you know who Eddie Hall is?
No.
So in the bar, the big guy that goes, Morton. With the mohawk, that's Eddie Hall. He's a strong man. You know who he is. You've seen him before. He's
yeah, I know that guy. Yeah.
If I had shown you a video of him before you saw him in that role, you would have been like, oh, it's Eddie Hall.
I remember him.
Right away. So I thought that was cool that he got Eddie Hall, and then it made total sense why Stallone and Statham were in a dressing room with him in one of his videos. But as far as the action is concerned, as far as the CG is concerned, it was very much a made-for-TV movie. I cannot lie. I cannot lie. No matter how much enthusiasm I put behind this review, the CGI was so bad. Like at one point, one of the characters does a flip, and I swear to God, I saw ropes. It was just bad CGI. Megan Fox, I don't know if she overacted, underacted, or is just Megan Fox. It's hard to tell at this point in her career. I think she knows who she is. She's accepted it, and you just got to keep making money.
Yeah, just play your character.
Easy. I wish you had stayed for the movie, man. I do. Because at one point, Jason Statham's character gets fired, and he physically opens the classifieds. And I was like, what is this, 1984? He like physically opens the classifieds in the newspaper. Let's not dance around this. It's lazy. It's so on the nose. It's not a great movie, but it's gonna give you the blood. It's gonna give you a little bit more gore than I thought I was gonna get, and it's gonna give you some fun. It's just there's some fun stuff. Literally, there's a scene that 50 Cent sets up, and you know what the song was? I don't know what you heard about me. Playing in the that's why I was like, yeah, it's a bit on the nose. It's a bit on the
Oh, but I would have
nose.
liked to have seen that scene. So I'm having regrets now.
Basically,
Can't get a dollar out of me.
he basically just drives an exploding forklift.
Oh, cool.
Spoiler alert. It is going to be a popcorn for me. It wasn't a good movie, but I'm so sorry. The CG was just so bad. The dialogue, you could forget about it. That's not why we're there, but it was a little much. The movie all takes place in like 2 areas. You could tell that they were limiting budget on this film.
Cross the street.
Yeah, it was like, let's not spend too much money on this movie. But
well, you could tell there was definitely budget in the details of like people's cool cars, and the fight scenes were silly and so cartoony, but or the action scenes, but they definitely threw some money at that part.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see how. I would guess not more than $30 million for this movie, if I had to take a guess.
Drunk classic time, right? We had some cop cars.
Sure, yeah. So it was my pick, and I chose a kind of an indie film. I think it's made by Fox Searchlight that does a lot of indie films, or it's something close to that studio.
Okay.
I don't know if it's exactly that one, but yeah. So you had to rent this I did on Apple TV, probably on YouTube, wherever
Prime.
you rent movies, you can rent this one. Prime, yep. Starring the Baconator, Kevin Bacon.
Bacon. I love how the movie starts out with his name huge.
Yeah.
Like that's how the movie starts. Kevin Bacon.
COPCAR, the drunk classic.
It's really cool. These 10-year-old kids, and how authentic their relationship is, and how authentic this wild get into trouble story was believable because of them.
Yeah,
it's 2 troublemaking boys.
It was good. I love how in the beginning,
me-ish.
very Stand By Me-ish. Yeah. But the fact that it's 2 people is a different dynamic also, and it's a good one. I mean, I was those kids for sure. Like I was.
Yeah,
we
some of the
wandered
stuff
around a
they
lot.
said.
We got into trouble. Some of the stuff they said was like perfect dialogue. How did you get this down? Like, it was great.
I love the part where the lady, the 2 boys are joyriding this car down the street. And they're swerving all over the place, screaming, going crazy, and they pass this lady on the highway, and you can tell she's just a total Karen. Just if you drew a sketch, this is Karen. And she's in a diner, and she's trying to figure out, like, did I really just see what I just saw? And 2 cops walk in to the diner, and just you could see the itch to snitch is just eating her alive, and it's some foreshadowing because you know what happens to the snitches in the movies. I'm not gonna spoil it there because I don't know if you've gotten there yet.
Let's not spoil it.
Yeah. It's a short. It's an hour and a half. Short little. It's less than an hour. I think it's an hour and 27 minutes. Short little nerve burner. It's got some real physical comedy moments in it for sure. There's no dialogue that really knocks your socks off in this movie. It's just mostly 2 little boys just bantering, saying real stuff that little boys just say.
Very authentic in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they didn't even have a script. They just kind of let the kids goof around and just took the
Didn't
best
even
parts
tell
of
them
it.
there was cameras. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I love that the way the show begins and like how it progresses. Like, I've been those kids, like totally, where you egg each other on, kind of, and like you're doing things. You're instantly believing things. Like the kid, he keeps a Slim Jim in his sleeve for pickpockets when they're in the middle of nowhere. There's no pickpockets around. But the other guy's like, yeah, it makes sense. It's just like kid stuff. Really great.
They're just like they're running away from home, and then they're just walking, and they're like on this mission, and someone's like, "Oh, look, a snake hole," and then they got to go and take their sticks and stab at it.
Yeah, like it's totally normal thing. Yeah.
The antics of these 2 boys, though, should really be shown to kids as a lesson in gun safety. because later on, towards the end there's some weapons involved and things. You're just like, oh my god, please, why? Like these kids just have zero sense. Um, nothing really stands out about this movie, but it's just there's nothing really bad. It's just enjoyable. It's just a good little short ride to go on in the cop car. I give it a popcorn and a beer.
Popcorn and beer. Popcorn and beer.
A good one. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I loved how Kevin Bacon was in the credits like immediately, first 5 seconds of the opening movie. And Bacon's a great bad guy. You actually, I noted that right at the middle of the movie exactly is the first time Kevin Bacon gets to talk to the kids on the radio. So they had the whole first half of the movie, they don't know who each other are at all.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Maybe they did that on purpose. I liked the movie. It was heartfelt. Popcorn and one, the tense scenes were tense. Reminded me a lot of the tense city of that Russell Crowe movie, Hostel. No,
You're talking about the one where he
the
has
car
road
movie.
rage.
Yeah,
Where he has
High
road
Tension.
rage. Yeah, Unhinged.
Right?
Unhinged.
Unhinged. It reminded me of that. It was nowhere near the same kind of movie, but like where you're kind of on edge the whole time. It was good.
So for me, I put A Murderer's Kevin Bacon. Is there any other kind lately? Can he play any other? I think the only role where Kevin Bacon has been a good guy is like a T-Mobile commercial in the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Everything else, Kevin Bacon's been like, I'm going to murder someone. Here it goes.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I've never seen Stir of Echoes. He was kind of the good guy in that, right? But he got to play crazy.
Yeah, he plays a little crazy in Stir of Echoes because he's getting spoken to by a young lady that was brutally attacked. We don't have to go into that though.
I want to see it.
Very Last House on the Left style.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's a rough watch, but watch it anyway. Kevin Bacon's accent slides in and out of country in New York, and it's hard because I was like, just let Kevin Bacon talk like Kevin Bacon, because him trying to do the accent is rough.
Yeah, it was there when it was there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Coked out Kevin Bacon. Is there any other kind?
Yeah, but wasn't I mean the subtle changes in everything physical as soon as he was railing coke like a kid drinking out of a faucet. Like his speech patterns changed, his speed, the looks in his eyes. Like he did a good job pretending to be reeled out.
There was no context or explanation for a lot of the ways that Kevin Bacon acted in this movie. There's no context or explanation as to why he's killing people, except for perhaps he got involved in a drug cartel and he stole from this drug cartel and then decided to murder this drug cartel. I mean, and I put those pieces together myself. I think that's what's happening here.
I didn't even bother putting it together. It was so relevant to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's an ancillary part of the story, but I kind of wanted to know it. One of my favorite quotes is, "I swear to God, kid, if you don't open this door, I'm going to shoot right through it and kill you. I'm the only one you can trust." Okay, let's break this down a little
bit. Right. I mean, his speech to him too, like, I'm gonna go kill your guinea pig.
Yeah, that was probably the best speech in the movie, to be honest.
It was good, and it's something that a kid like that would believe.
Stepdad. It was very intense. The kids playing with the guns in the car. It was
Oof,
interesting.
Didn't that make you?
Yeah, the whole time I'm like, you're gonna get shot. The whole time.
Yeah.
But
I didn't see the last like 2 minutes. What happens after the Kevin Bacon gets run off the road?
That's the end of the movie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good. That's the very end of the movie. Basically, he just keeps driving. Yeah, he's
cool.
just trying to get his buddy to a hospital, man. He's
yeah,
trying to grow up fast. How about this line? Do you know how to drive? Yeah, man, Mario Kart.
Straight up.
It was good.
I go popcorn and one. I'm not sure if I mentioned that.
I gave it a popcorn and one as well. So let's get to what we were watching.
Bones and All, starring the Timothy Chalamet from Things, where there is a gangly white young man.
Chalamet is Wonka, brother.
He's your guy. Taylor Russell, who you know from Things. If you see her face, you're like, okay, I know that girl.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
probably some horror movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Vampire. I thought they were kind of like vampires at first from the preview, but they're more like just like these cannibal humanoid creature monsters. They don't really have any like distinct powers or weaknesses.
They just
They
like to
call
eat.
themselves they call themselves eaters.
Ew.
Yeah, and apparently you have to have really stupid hairdo and wardrobes. That's like I guess one of the caveats to being one.
Mm.
Um, it takes place in the 80s and it's filmed a lot like an 80s movie. There's like some funky editing. It's
Oh.
actually just like it's a really slow paced movie. It goes from like zero to like what the hell's going on like pretty quick,
Hmm.
and then it just keeps trying to one up itself from that. There's no real conflict throughout this movie, and or really like a plot, like a solid plot. Other than that, they're like these monster creatures, and they're just like in love, and they're on this road trip to find themselves. So they just kind of manufacture like this weird conflict at the end of the movie that just doesn't really pay off, and it's just not very climactic, not a lot of closure
Not a
that you're
lot to bite
expecting at the end
into.
of this movie. Exactly. There you go. This movie is a solid popcorn.
Popcorn.
Solid popcorn. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I got to watch a in-flight movie because I'm actually broadcasting from a hotel lobby in Nashville,
Mm.
Tennessee.
You're in the lobby?
I am in the
Oh,
fourth floor lobby. Yeah. I watched About My Father, starring Sebastian Maniscalco, a comedian
mm.
who is
Oh,
like an
yeah.
Italian comedian who does a lot of physical comedy. He's a very
Yeah.
physical comedy guy. And and he does his signature cadence that he talks with. I'm not going to replicate it because it's a
Why?
little
Yeah, I can't
cultural.
do it either. I was about to try it, but I can't do it either.
Yeah,
But he's the guy who looks like he tweezes his eyebrows, right?
yeah, yeah. Robert De Niro is in it, plays his father, and he looks quite old. It's based on his relationship with his father. It's very cultural and kind of endearing, but I don't think it's like in a humorous way. Like the
Mm.
culturalness of it, it's like it doesn't appeal to everybody. It's kind of just like if you're Italian and you kind of know some of the inner workings of
Gotcha.
family life and all that stuff. It has its funny moments. The father son banter is great and it's pretty universal. Like everybody can relate to a lot of that stuff.
Mm.
uh, the rich family, the other, like his wife's family, that they're kind of trying to impress they're really weird and really funny. The guy Anders, I don't remember his last name from the
Oh, yeah.
Workaholics too.
Hmm.
He's hilarious. He steals like every scene he's in the movie.
Great.
Um, yeah, it's all the cliche meet the in-laws sort of antics. The two best scenes that are in the movie are like kind of completely spoiled in the trailer. It's not a bad movie, but it just didn't have anything great in it. I give it a popcorn and a beer, barely. I'll slip it into popcorn and beer territory.
Popcorn beer. I saw him or I listened to him on a pod. I think it was Conan's podcast. But De Niro was the father, and he was talking about how De Niro wanted to hang out with the real father to get his mannerisms and all these things, kind of a method thing. So, uh, the guy, he called up his dad. He says, "Hey, we're gonna pay you to come out here and let De Niro hang out with you for a while on the set and just like get to know you and all this." And I guess the dad was reluctant, but he went. He got paid and all this stuff, and he wanted to go after like a day or two. And he's like trying to explain to his father, like, no, you're hanging out with Robert De Niro for a while, so he can figure out what it's like to be you. And he was constantly just having to convince his dad to stay because he didn't care. He didn't care about any of this. He didn't want to hang out with De Niro. There was no drive, like star power thing. He was like, I just want to go home.
That's great. Yeah, I guess that comes through in the movie too in the character, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. I watched or it was Netflix Day. Netflix has like dumped a lot of good stuff recently, so check out Netflix. I want to see Wrestlers next week. It's like a documentary about wrestlers.
I know what you're talking about.
But what I did see was Nimona. It's a CG movie. Uh, it's like Arthurian stuff, like King Arthur court stuff, but it's set in the distant future. So you have swords and knights and monsters and prophecies and flying cars, and they do a pretty cool melding of the two genres, I guess. It's like a high fantasy and high futuristic, where everything's clean and neat and pretty. It's really beautiful CG work, almost like storybook type drawings mixed in with obviously 3D models and stuff. It's a classic story of like the knighted hero destined to kill the impending monster who will someday come and ruin the kingdom unless you can stop her. But then it has a twist pretty quick, like early on, and then another twist towards the end. So like it does a really cool play on the classic story of like Beowulf or whatever, where the
Okay.
king has to go and kill the thing. Cool characters. There's a sidekick character who can like she can like change into any creature she wants, like Beast Boy from DC.
Sure.
She's a lot like the kind of sidekick character who's sort of trendy these past 5-10 years, where you're like Tiny Tina from Borderlands. I'm not sure if you know the Borderlands character. Just the really loud, like okay, like Daredevil, but a 10-year-old. No, not Daredevil. Deadpool, but a 10-year-old. Like you're kind of commenting on the meta a little bit, and also just being like quirky and random, and having little lines. However, she kind of pulled it off. She wasn't annoying. She wasn't too much. It was actually pretty well put. Well written characters, cool dialogue. Reminded me some of El Dorado. Remember that the dude between the two main characters having
The
the
two
the
guys.
dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of element. It was good. I felt it. It was good. I give it popcorn and two probably. Yeah, popcorn and two. Good ending
Cool.
too. Possible sequel. And then I went foreign film with also on Netflix recently, Il Conde. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm assuming that means the Count. I think it's Portuguese. No, it's Spanish because it takes place mainly in Chile. Yeah, it's Spanish. Um, excuse me. I ate a lot of licorice last night. Still there. Like a whole. I tried to sneak a whole bag into the theater, not just a regular bag. Ate the whole thing in 30 minutes. It was a bad idea.
Wow.
Ugh. All right, El Conde. It's a black and white. I mean, it's just right up there with any French film you can think of, but they play on that, and it's modern. And it's a story about a vampire, and it goes into his whole life. And now he's towards the end of wanting to be alive anymore, so he's preparing to die. And so his kids come out and they're talking about squabbling about the assets and what do we do with this and what about these deeds and he's old now and he's like doesn't care and he's like I don't remember, like I think I have a house in Spain somewhere, the papers are in the house somewhere, we'll figure it out. So they hire an accountant, but the accountant's a secret spy for the church who's trying to kill the vampire. And the whole movie is really funny, talking about the vampire survival tactics. Like uh, Englishmen are the best people to eat, drink blood of, and the lower worker class is the worst tasting. But then when you get into eating hearts, there's no turning back. Eating hearts is better than anything. So he goes to his fridge and grabs one of his many hearts that are frozen in there and puts it in a blender and drinks it. It's like really
Okay.
funny in a really, really dry way. There's a lot of Wes Anderson type shots where the characters are staring right at the camera and they're having a conversation, snapping back and forth. And there's a really wonderful scene where someone gets turned into a vampire, and so what do you do when you're a vampire? First thing you do is see if you can fly. So she goes and flies. Oh, I ruined it. Someone, man or woman, I don't know. So they go and they fly. So there's this wonderful scene of their first flight, and they're clumsy at it, but it's really really beautiful, very moving, almost like in the middle of this dry, dark comedy, there's this beautiful scene about someone flying for the first time, and it's what you, I don't know, it feels real in a good way.
Cool.
I don't know where the plot ended up. It's a really weird ending, really weird story, but the premise is so original to me. He's actually in the movie. He's Pinochet, the Chilean dictator who was a Nazi and committed all kinds of atrocities. And as Pinochet, the vampire, he's kind of upset that no one likes him. Like he's not going to go down in history as a wonderful leader, even though he tried the best he could and stuff. It was like, I don't know, it's funny. I gave it a popcorn and 2, but I think it's one of those where I'm not sure who I would suggest it to. I'm not gonna make my mom watch it. Beautiful though. I think it's a beautiful movie and it's good for Halloweeny times. Not really scary, but it's on the macabre. So popcorn and 2 on that one.
Right.
Check it out.
Did you already review what you were watching?
I did mainly. I missed a couple little things, so I'll just
Okay.
throw in. I watched El Conde, really cool black and white foreign film about a vampire and his spoiled family that all wants him to turn them into vampires, but he never will. Now they're squabbling over his possessions because anyway. It's a great movie. Everyone should watch it. Expendables. I watched Dark Knight. I'm not gonna bother reviewing Dark Knight because shut up. I just wanted to mention. There's one scene that's always bugged me, and it's when Dent and Commissioner Gordon and Batman are all three on the rooftop for the first time and talking about what they're going to do before they wrap up all the mobsters. And Dent is yelling at Gordon about, like, I think you're dirty and you're a dirty cop and we could have, they're fighting, right? But the way that the dialogue went down, it's always bothered me. It was like they used the wrong take because Dent is talking and then he stops mid-sentence for no reason. And then he's like almost replying to Gordon with, yeah, you think I don't know about this way back when? It's just a really weird dialogue. And I always wondered if anyone else ever noticed that. Besides that, who cares? I did watch this one I didn't get to talk about, which was Mind Cage.
Mm-hmm.
John Malkovich, bad guy. Martin Lawrence, the grizzled detective. This is like Seven, but supernatural.
Okay.
It's a really dark, weird movie with Martin Lawrence as the grizzled detective. It's really strange to see him in this movie.
When did it come out?
John Malkovich is like a Hannibal Lecter type where the cop goes to talk to him and figure out who the killer is. And it's this big thing that ends really stupid. There's mind control. They just throw in mind control like at the end of the movie. Like out of nowhere. It's been you the whole time? Like, where'd that come from? There's no magic in this movie until like the last 20 minutes. What is notable though is they're following a serial killer, who uses like really cool art techniques to make the victim look like some avant-garde on the cover of Vogue magazine angel, like beautiful works of art. Yeah, absolutely incredible crime scenes, beautiful. And I looked into that. It's because the director is a renowned illustrator, costume designer, etc. for a lot of big movies. So this is their first directorial role. Of course, they threw in some great art, and that's where the good stuff ends. It's a horrible movie.
Okay.
Martin Lawrence had no business being in this movie.
Did they at least give him a gray goatee?
Yep, good goatee. Real nice and clean. Steve Harvey.
I said gray goatee, but that's
okay. Oh, gray? It was great. A great goatee.
Because you said a grizzled veteran, and when I think grizzled veteran of Martin Lawrence, I think of a gray goatee, not just for men.
No, he actually just gained a lot of weight instead of doing that.
Oh, poor guy. All right. Well, what was I watching? I know we've already gotten what Jordan was watching, and I actually went and saw some Oscar bait. We're getting into September, right? We're mid-September or late September at this point, so the Oscar bait's going to start coming out. We're going to start seeing more and more artistic films, and this one wasn't super artistic. It's more along the lines of The Big Short. This one is called Dumb Money, and the cast is insane. Shailene Woodley, Paul Dano, Nick Offerman, and I always forget that Paul Dano was from The Girl Next Door. I always forget that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I always forget he's the guy that makes the porn at the very end of The Girl Next Door.
Yeah, he's the genius.
Well, no, he's the one with the big...
That too?
At the very end. Remember he's wearing his fencing mask at the very end?
Oh, I thought he was the camera guy. Okay, yes.
All right. Now, we also have Seth Rogen, Vincent D'Onofrio, Pete Davidson, and so many more. There's so many people in this. I will tell you this. For me, Seth Rogen playing the biggest victim of the GameStop saga, which, by the way, that is what dumb money is about. And the term dumb money was coined for people that invest in retail. Wall Street and hedge fund investors would say that's dumb money. when referring to people that invest in brick and mortar or retail locations. Now, Seth Rogen is a perfect poor. You can argue with me, you can fight me on it, but I'm basing it on his previous works and who he is here. And the juxtaposition of he's not just Seth Rogen going, right? He's actually acting. And he's a perfect pour for me. He did great. Now, Sebastian Stan, as one of the owners of Robinhood, he is all head, all foam. He is awful. What a terrible casting for this character. I hated him every time he was on the screen. I hated every time he had a stupid accent. Sebastian Stan was terrible in this film. Borderline an unwatchable character. And I really wish they had his partner in the film more than he was in the film. But they do go into Robin Hood a bit, and they go into that big explosion that happened over COVID in 2020 when all of a sudden GameStop exploded, and who I think it's Exploding Kitty or Roaring Kitty. And now he's no longer on YouTube, but he made like $32 million on this bet. But he was sent to court over it, right? The character that Seth Rogen, I don't think I'm spoiling anything. This is news. His company goes under due to their bets on wagering that GameStop would fail, right? They were buying against the success of GameStop. And Nick Offerman ends up going to jail. It's very for lying about his communications with Robinhood and how they basically created that. I don't know if you guys remember, everyone listening, or you, Josh, GameStop was not allowed to be purchased or sold on Robinhood for a period of time while that stock was blowing up. Robinhood shut it down.
Is that even legal?
Right. So that's what the movie goes into, about how they did it, why it was legal in that instance, and what it caused them. But it also now it led to the IPO for Robinhood being one of the lowest IPOs in history for a company of its kind. Because everybody was like, no, this is a terrible company with terrible owners. And the owners went from billionaires to not billionaires. Yeah. So I think it was a really fun movie. It was a really good movie. It was very interesting. It kept me invested. It's not too long, probably an hour and 46 minutes, hour and 48 minutes. It's based on, like I said, the GameStop saga. The COVID masks gave you PTSD, right? Made you feel weird. But
did it? I mean, it's really just sounds like just the classic hero story, like the peasant who kills the king kind of thing, overthrows
in a way,
and all
but
that.
they cover everyone. They cover
That's
everyone.
nice.
Yes, it does focus on him and how he was able to help the common man kind of rise up here and show, hey, if you keep screwing with us, there's more of us that exist than of you. There's more broke people in the world that are trying to create something, trying to live.
Hungry.
Than somebody that's just a billionaire voting on something to lose so he can gut the company, or she can gut the company. There is one sad story in it. I'm not going to give that away. I gave it a pop 2. One of my favorite things that they did in this film was they weaved in real social media posts, Instagrams, YouTube videos, and real news stories from that time. They were not manufactured. They were not acted. They were actual news stories from the time that were going on about this saga. So I found that very fascinating.
That's cool.
And well directed. I thought it was very cool the way they did it. So a pop 2. I hope you get to see it.
Nice,
it's a good movie.
Cool.
Next, I watched the 3rd season of Ragnarok. It's a Norwegian show, and boy, did they fail to land the plane. That 3rd season was hard to watch. It was rough. It was bad. They ruined the show with the ending by taking out all the lore and basically saying, I don't know, he might be crazy or this might be real. It will leave it up to you. No, tell me. Tell me what.
That's so lame. I mean, if you do that the right way, it's good. But like something like that, just make it real.
We just went on this whole journey for 16 episodes. For, well, probably more now. So probably about 22 episodes of how this lore is real and this is really going on. This is a battle that's been fought for ages in different ways. And now all of a sudden it's like, no, he's mentally ill. And I'm like, stop. Like, no, don't ruin. This has been a good show. What are you doing? Why you gotta ruin it? So it dropped it all the way to a pop 1 for me. There's a scene where they're all like, let's throw down our weapons and let's stop this war. And that all seems cool within the context of like 1/4 of the show. But then we forget like 75% of the 3 seasons, those giants are murdering people. Like, it's not okay or cool. You should probably go to jail.
Murder! Giant jail.
That one was kind of off as well. The last thing I watched this week was a documentary on World War II called Ordinary Men, The Forgotten Holocaust on Netflix.
Ooh.
It's right up Jordan's alley, so I wish he was here for this. But it was a study looking into some of the commoners that the German army, the Nazis, brought in to kind of maintain and control the cities they took over because they didn't have the manning within the army to continue to serve over these cities, like in Poland and things like that, and how these men still murdered hundreds of thousands of Jewish people during the Holocaust. One study finds they were tasked to shoot 1,500 men, women, and children during one of these, and that's why it's called the Forgotten Holocaust. But it digs into why they did it and how cultural pressures and nationalism kind of push these people to do it, because they're not the people you think they are, or how Hollywood might describe them, like an evil henchman. And that's a direct quote from the movie. They were well-educated individuals that were nationalists, that supported Germany, and they were chastised and goaded into becoming killers. And then it talked about the more they did it, the easier it became for these people to do it. Only a few went crazy. It divides them, and I'm not going to spoil it, 3 different sects of Nazi, and how that worked. But essentially, it talked about how cultural or social pressure led to the murders, because the study found that they were never obligated to kill. They were never going to be killed if they chose to not kill. There were orders given that said, if you do not want to do this, you do not have to. And one of the historians says, what we found in most texts is they were made to clean the latrine, or, do the duties that would be considered beneath them. They were made fun of by their colleagues, and it would probably take a strong-willed person to ignore that stuff or to overcome it. But they were never faced with death, so it was a choice whether or not to kill. So I found it interesting. It wasn't super long. It's always a sad story anytime you watch anything about that stuff. But it found that because of what these people went through, as far as trauma was concerned, it led to the concentration camps and the removal of humanity because of the impact it had on what was considered the Nazi police force. I give it a pop 1. It's interesting. It's a quick watch. If you want to do it, it's like 56 minutes. It is a hard watch. I warn all of you. But that's all I got for this week's Popcorn and Beers.
I just forgot to mention on my review of El Conde, by the way, everyone should watch El Conde. One of my favorite lines in recent history I've heard in a movie, which is out of context. There's nothing more disgusting than watching a man fall in love. It was just, the timing of it and everything was just beautiful. Anyway, it's really like a foreign French film, so take it with a grain of salt if you should watch it or not. But speaking of good lines, we are getting into the drunk classic, and this movie, a horror movie, has one of my favorite lines in a horror film, and it is meat. We're gonna watch Slither. It's a good old-fashioned gore fest with little Cronenberg monsters and slithery snails with teeth.
Talk about slugs.
The guy who plays Yondu is the bad guy, kind of, and once again, he delivers. He's one of those guys that always shows up.
Okay.
Like a Defoe type,
Yeah. All right. Or D'Onofrio. All right, so Slither is our drunk classic. I have seen that. We don't know if Jordan has seen it yet, so we'll see who gets some points on this go around. I'm sure Jordan has seen it because he likes the horror films. I just found out when I was looking at what is going to be our butter on top for this week that there's another Saw coming out. Didn't know that. Writer's strike is crushing us because they can't do any advertising. They can't do any marketing, right?
Oh.
But yeah, there's another Saw coming out. But guess what? It's not our butter on top because we've got a film that is boom or bust. It could be amazing and phenomenal and we could all fall for it, or it could be absolutely terrible. We'd be like, that was one of the worst movies ever.
That's what I'm betting on.
For the creator. That is what Josh is betting on. Way to sell it.
No, I'm betting on it being bad. The creator.
Yeah, that's what I said. Way to sell it.
Yeah. Way to sell it. Can't wait to watch this. Heap of garbage. Hey, you gotta protect this kid. By the way, we're in the future. Okay.
I'm sorry, it's not about Van Gogh running around the fields and all different art
And it's
projects.
just, I'm just so tired of that particular story. Like, we got that with the Last of Us. We got it with Logan. We always get it. The classic Western, protect the kid, escort duty. I don't know. Give me something new, guys.
Look, man, blame Whitney Houston. She said the children are our future.
You know, she also said she'd always love me, and look at it now.
I think she still does. Anyway, we will always love you, fans of popcorn and beer. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every week. You can follow us on Twitter at popcorn and beer. Please follow us on the TikTok at the SadFan12. You can keep up with everything we are watching and everything we're about to review throughout the week. We post it every Sunday. Sunday. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you
Monster
at the movies.
trucks.
You bring the popcorn and we'll bring the beer.